Hello and welcome to Giddy Knits episode number 16. Today is Thursday the 21st of September, mind went blank for a second there, and I am Helen as usual. I am coming to you as usual again from Surrey in the United Kingdom, where I live with my husband Tom and my two boys, Arthur, who is 3.5, nearly 4, and Jasper, who is 10.5 months. Welcome. Welcome to all previous viewers. Thank you very much for coming back. And welcome to anyone who is new. We have just hit over 100 subscribers, which is amazing. Yeah, I have no words for that. The fact that over 100 people have subscribed to my channel and want to come and watch me every 2 weeks is amazing. So thank you very much. If you are new and you haven't subscribed and you would like to, then please do just hit the subscribe button that will be somewhere down below if you're watching this on YouTube, and that will keep you up to date with any new videos that I put up. And also, if you enjoy the episode, give me a thumbs up down below, because that just gets the video out there a little bit more and helps people find me. Okay, what I haven't said, and I always forget to say, is this is a knitting podcast. So if you have stumbled onto Giddy Knits and you don't know what you're watching a knitting podcast, where I share all my knitting. There's a little bit of crochet this week. So yeah, that is what you're watching. Okay, so show notes for the episode, because I usually forget to say. Show notes can now be found on my website, which is www.giddyyarns.com, and also in the Ravelry group for the podcast, which is the Giddy Knits podcast on Ravelry. You can find it either by searching in the groups tab on Ravelry, or I will link it down below. And in fact, both the website and the Ravelry group will be linked down below if you're watching this on YouTube. And you can find show notes in both of those places. You can find me on social media as Giddy Helen on both Ravelry and on Instagram. And my hand-dyed yarn company. I am the yarn dyer behind Giddy Yarns, and you can find my hand-dyed yarn on Instagram as @GiddyYarns. You can also find more information about it on my website, which is giddyarns.com. I'm also on Facebook, which I think I've failed to mention. Search Giddy Yarns on Facebook, and I have got a Facebook page for my yarn as well. And I try to keep those all updated as much as I can. So I think that is it for the introduction-y stuff. As for admin this week, Summer Stripe Along has finished. The prize winners were announced in the previous video, so if you've not watched that and you entered, then check out the previous video. We've also got a thread in the Summer Stripe Along group on Ravelry with all the prize winners listed. So if you're not sure, just go and check that out. And finally, also the 24 Days of Cheer swap, the mini skein Advent mini skein swap, has now closed. And hopefully, if you entered, you should all have been messaged about your partners for the swap. If you haven't, then check on Ravelry. I think Emily of Anders Mill Knits, mind went blank again. I think she has linked everybody on Ravelry, so you should have found your partners and hopefully been in contact. Okay, so let's get into the knitting content. This week I have got for you, I have got some finished objects, I have got some works in progress, I have got some new cast-ons. I am adding back in blanket progress, because despite having shown you my granny striped blanket, I forgot that I used to do a blanket progress section with my other blanket, and now I've got some progress to show you on that other blanket. I thought to myself, oh, I'll reintroduce blanket progress as a section. I have also got some kind of yarny goodness. It is yarn and it is yarny goodness. I will explain that later. So I have got a bit of yarny goodness. I have got some shop news, although I have forgotten to get the yarn out, which is currently behind my head, so that will be amusing later. And then I will finish up as usual with my little behind the scenes section where I talk a little bit about what's been going on in my everyday to day life. Okay, so let's delve right in to finished objects. I always look up awkwardly at the camera when I have my cup of tea. I might look at you awkwardly while I just sip my tea. Anyway, finished objects. I have got two finished objects this week. One of them, finally, is, see if I can work out which is the right side. Is that the right side? That's the right side. I finished my Rainer shawl, and this has been blocked. I have weaved the ends in, I just haven't quite snipped the ends off. I should have done that before I recorded, but oh well. But here we go. And I am very pleased with it, and I do love it, and I don't know why this took me so long to finish. It is gorgeous. And this is, if you don't know the pattern, this is the Rainer shawl, which is a free pattern on Ravelry by, I can never pronounce it, I think it's Nora Livola. It will be linked in the show notes. And yeah, it's a lovely free pattern, very, very simple. It's a single skein pattern. And I don't know why it took me so long. It's very wearable, it's really light. It's going to be a lovely sort of autumn and even spring kind of shawl. It's really, really light. It's definitely not going to be heavy. It's, yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, it just, I'm not quite sure, and I don't think it was anything about the pattern or the yarn choice or anything like that. It just took me a long time. I just didn't really have the motivation to knit on it. I think I had a lot of other things that I was enjoying knitting on more, and sometimes that happens. So I knit this out of Owl About yarn, and let's see, I've got no idea whether this is going to focus. Oh yeah, it has, there we go. I'll just hold it there for you. Owl About yarn. And this is in her zombie colourway, zombies. It's a 75-25 merino nylon, and it is just gorgeous, variegated with purples and burgundies and creams, with pops of red and blue. Not that the camera wants to focus as usual, there we go. And it's stunning. Yeah, it's really beautiful, and I love the shawl, and I will wear this. I will wear this quite a lot, I think, especially in when it's not quite hot enough to have something big on, and you just want something light. In fact, it goes quite nicely with what I'm wearing today. Yeah, so as I said, I'm just trying to think where I've put all the information stuff for it. It's probably just been thrown in the bottom of the box. I'm looking, it will be empty. All the contents of my knitting box are just sprawled on the bed there, because I've got you lot. Oh, stupid camera, come back to me, I'm here. No. You're resting on my knitting box. So I haven't got the label to show you, but as I said, it's Owl About yarn. It'll all be linked in the show notes. And this was her Zombies colourway. And it's a 75-25 merino nylon, and it's so soft. Yeah, no worries about wearing this around my neck at all. So that is my first finished object, and seeing as the camera wants to keep focused up there, I will show you it again. Now I have an admission to make, and that is I finished this a bit early. I should have added another 3 eyelet sections down the bottom, another 3 rows. Well, it was 6 rows, but another 3 lots of eyelets along the edge. But I just knew I was getting to the stage where this was never going to get finished, and I just knew that I needed to finish it. So the pattern is very, very adaptable, and it says in the pattern that if you're worried about yardage or anything like that, then that last eyelet section at the bottom there is the one to adjust. So that's what I did. I just missed out 6 rows and went straight on to the sort of little garter bit, and then cast off. And I'm so glad I did, because this is plenty big enough. I'm more than happy with the size of this. It's blocked out beautifully. All those eyelet sections have opened up really nicely, and it's finished. So it is no longer sitting on my needles, making me feel guilty because I don't really want to work on it. So yeah, that is the Rainer shawl, and I'm calling it my Zombie Rainer. By Neuralivola. Again, it'll be linked in the show notes. And I'm very pleased to have it finished, because now I can cast on a new shawl. Maybe. Okay, and then I have got one more finished object, and you haven't actually seen these at all. These are not only a new cast on, but they are finished, but they are the cutest thing I have ever knit. I knit a little pair of socks for Jasper. I used some scraps sort of leftovers from a pair of socks I knit for myself. And this is Sheep on Mars. She doesn't have colourway names, but I knit a pair of socks for myself in this. And it's lovely, just kind of this rainbow and grey, the kind of micro stripes. Yeah, so I knit 2 little socks. I did play some yarn chicken, and I well and truly lost. As you can see, I have had to add in a toe. It's kind of a turquoise. It's coming up a bit more blue on the screen there, but I did have to add in a bit more than just a toe in a different colour. But I don't mind. I don't think it matters at all. And they're lovely. And I had the idea for these because Mina Phillips, Knitting Expat, on Instagram, she put up a picture of some socks that she'd knit for Layla, her little baby. And she actually put the little recipe up on Instagram. She put the sort of kind of a pattern, I guess, of how she did them, and I just thought, oh, that's brilliant. They're only supposed to use about 22 grams of wool. Now, I haven't weighed these, and I also didn't weigh my leftovers before I started knitting them, because our kitchen scales, the battery has run out. So I don't know quite how accurate that was for me, but then I do tend to knit. I knit at quite a tight gauge, and I tend to knit on slightly larger needles, so I might use a little bit more yarn. But they fit really nicely. They're a bit long in the foot. They've probably got about ½ an inch too long in the foot. But I'm quite happy with that, because I kind of want him to have these to wear throughout the winter. I mean, he's what, 10.5 months now, and it's September. So with an extra ½ inch or so, maybe even an inch in the foot actually for him, he's got quite small feet. These should hopefully fit him throughout the winter. And we're actually going skiing in January with all my family, and it would be ideal if I can knit him a couple more pairs and this kind of size, and if these would still fit him when we go skiing, because they'll be perfect for shoving in some sort of snow booty kind of things. We've got some snow boots that Arthur wore, because tangent alert, we went skiing last time we went skiing. Arthur was 1, so he was the same age as Jasper will be when we go skiing this time. And we've got some sort of snow boots that we had for him, but Arthur had really big feet and Jasper's got really small feet. So yeah, he might need padding out a little bit, which is what knitted socks are perfect for. Anyway, complete tangent. Jasper has some really, really, really cute knitted socks. And actually, I could show you. Here we go. Woo! If I get an avalanche of socks falling off the shelf. Here, these are the ones that I knit for me. I'm sure you'll remember them. This was the first pattern from the New York sock collection, which is also by Mina Phillips, Knitting Expat. So me and Jasper can have matching socks, and just to give you an idea of the size, they're so cute. I now need to knit some for Arthur, of course, because you've got to be fair, haven't you? Anyway, moving on. That is all my finished objects. So let's move on to works in progress. Just turn over my show notes, because I can't remember what was a work in progress and what wasn't. Right, okay, I have got one work in progress to show you this week. And that is my, not in that one, must be in that one. Living in my cactus bag. I've got a bag, a drawstring bag in the shop actually with this same material, if you like it. And this is the Yorkville socks. I showed you these last time, and I have got a half finished object. So I have finished one of my Yorkville socks. And again, this is another pattern by Mina Phillips of Knitting Expat. Seems like it's all I knit, isn't it? This is pattern number 5, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, this is pattern number 5 from the New York sock collection. So I am still very behind. I need to do a bit of catching up. The last pattern was released at the beginning of September. But see if I can get the camera to focus and you can see it a bit clearer. I don't know how well you can see the pattern there, but this is a gorgeous pattern. It's very, very simple with just pearls and knits to create a lovely textured pattern down the foot. And I am also at the second sock is well on the way. It just needs a heel. So there you go. You can see kind of the texture in there. But you see the texture there as well. There. And the yarn I'm using, this is hand dyed by me. It's on a Drops Fable base. So I haven't really got names or anything for this, but it's on the Drops Fable I dyed, which was just a neutral colour. I think it's literally their number 1 or 100. I really can't remember. But yeah, this dyed by me. So the green turquoise, sort of like a minty green, was one of my very, very early dyeing ones, and it's actually been dyed with food colouring. But this one has been dyed with acid dyes, and yeah, it's just a lovely sort of tonal variegated pinks and purples. It's really, really pretty, and I might actually have to dye some of this up for the shop. When I first did it, I thought it was really just bright and fun, my kind of thing. I love these kind of colours, but I wasn't sure how popular it would be. But having knit it up, it's beautiful. It knits up really, really nicely. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, it knits up really beautifully. So I might have to recreate something like this to add into the shop, I think. But yeah, so there's the yarns that I'm using for those. And as I said, it needs a heel. In fact, both of my socks, the ones I'll show you in a second as well, have both stalled at the moment because both need heels, and I just need an evening where I'm not doing much and I can just sit down and knit a couple of heels, and then I can get them finished. So that's my work in progress. Well, the only work in progress you've seen. Oh, and the Drops Fable base. I know I've talked about it before, but it is a 75% virgin wool and 25% polyamide. It's a really, really reasonable sock yarn. You can get patterned ones as well, and you can get solid, semi-solid colours and solid colours of it. And yeah, it's a really, really reasonable. If you're a new sock knitter and you want something to knit a pair of socks with, it's not the softest, it's quite toothy, but on your feet I don't think that matters. But yeah, it's very reasonable. Hence I used it to practice my dyeing. Yeah, so that is my Yorkville socks, and that is everything I wanted to tell you about them. So moving on now to new cast-ons, and I have got 2 new cast-ons for you this week. But I need some more tea. And in fact, both of these new cast-ons are future knitting that I talked about in my last episode. So the first one is living in my little toucan drawstring bag. And again, I think I've got a bag in this material in the shop as well. So if you like it, then check it out in the shop. A little bit of shameless self-promotion, which I'm rubbish at. Right, okie dokie. So these are, I've got again, a finished object. So this is a pair of socks, and I'm calling these my Eiger socks. These are for Mum. These are going to be a Christmas present for my mum. I'm finally starting on a bit of Christmas knitting. And I'm knitting these in Stylecraft Head Over Heels, which I've not used before, but it's lovely. I'm really, really enjoying working with it. Again, it's not as soft as a merino nylon, but then I wouldn't expect that. It's a commercial yarn. But it's easily comparable with Opal, I think. Yeah, easily comparable with Opal. and good value for money as well, quite reasonable, and yeah, it's lovely. So as I said, this is the Eiger colourway. See if I can get you a slightly better in focus shot of this. There we go. And I love how this is knitting up. Really, really fun. And amazingly, I've only just got one pattern repeat in here. And in fact, I've not even quite managed one pattern repeat. I don't know if you can see it, how well the colours are showing up, but the rib here started at the same stage, well, the opposite end of this. So with these colours, so the blue and the kind of the blue and the minty kind of greeny colour there, and then went through blue, striped to purple, striped back to blue, striped to the minty green, and then striped to cream. And then this cream would then have striped, would then have reversed here, if that makes sense. So it would have gone from cream back to the minty green and back to the blue. So actually, I've missed out kind of that much of the pattern repeat in this sock. So I think that's just amazing. And I mean, it's not a short sock. I've done 60 rows for the leg and 60 rows for the foot. So and also 15 rows of ribbing, so it's sort of 75 row leg. So it's not a very short sock of it by any means. But yeah, no pattern repeat in there at all, which was quite fun actually. And I was quite happy with how the toe finished on the cream, because it almost matches the sort of light grey heel that I put in, so as not to break up the stripe. And this is just a vanilla sock, so just a stocking stitch sock, and I've just added in a German short row heel, and this is the heel from the New York Sock Club patterns. That was the first time I'd ever done a German short row heel, was from those patterns, so I tend to just use that same pattern. So yeah, that is it. And I have got the second sock on the go, and as I said, this sock is also tangled up with yarn, also at the stage where it needs a heel. And I have tried my best to match these. I think I'm doing pretty well so far. They are matching, which is really good, because Mum would prefer that, I think. Yeah, and the ball, I haven't wound it into a cake or anything, I'm just knitting from it straight like that. But yeah, so these just need a heel. And yeah, I would highly recommend this yarn. I've actually got another ball of it. I can't remember what colour. I think it might be Kilimanjaro or Mount Fiji. I'm not sure. I could look, but it's behind me. Which I'll probably knit something for me with, I'd imagine. So it's the head over heels, Starcraft head over heels. Gives you a bit of an idea of how it knits up on the back, not that it's focusing. And it is a 75% superwash wool and 25% nylon. But it's, yeah, I'm really, really, really pleased with it. And as I said, the colourway is Eiger. It's colourway number 3103. And it's blowing up a bit, there we go. And part of the reason I chose this for my mum is because her and my dad used to do a lot of climbing. Before me and my brother came along, and they spent a lot of time climbing the Alps and climbing in France and things like that. And one of the mountains that my mum's climbed is the Eiger. And she also loves purple and blue. So when I saw these colours and then saw the colourway Eiger, I just thought to myself, that's perfect. That is a sock for my mum for Christmas. So yeah, so again, I just need to sit down and put in the heel on the second sock, and then hopefully those will be done. And the first thing that I can tuck away as a Christmas present, which is amazing. I have a few things that I'm planning on knitting for Christmas. Mind you, I haven't got any yarn for most of them yet, so I need to work on that. But one is on the way. Okay, so, and then I have got another new cast on. And if you watched my last episode, I'm sure you can guess what this is, seeing as I said that I cast on all my future knitting. I cast on the breathing space, which is a pattern that I'm sure everybody knows. It's by Vera Valimaki. There we go. And that is the pattern. And I did show you the yarn that I wanted to cast this on with, and I haven't got very far on this, and I'm only on the one colour. Oh, not on that colour. It's just coming unwound. So, sorry, just trying to organise everything. Ooh, drop the camera. Sorry, there we go. Right, okay. So here we go. This is where I'm at. I'm at the stage actually where I could do with putting it on some slightly longer needles, because it's not going to be able to show it very well. I am currently just doing the raglan increases for the shoulders. I finished the short row shaping for the neck. That was fun. I've not done short row shaping before. Yeah, so I finished the short row shaping for the neck, and yeah, there's not really much I can show you at the moment. It looks really small. I'm hoping it's not. Should block out quite nicely, and it's really hard to tell on these small needles, but no, I think actually looking at the neck there, it should be, yeah, looking at her in the neck and how it's going to block out, no, it should be fine. Anyway, I can't really try it on at the moment. But let's show you. I am knitting this in my Storm Cloud colourway. So this is Giddy Yarns in the Storm Cloud colourway, which is a tonal dark grey. And I'm so happy with how it's knitting up. I think it's knitting up beautifully. And yeah, it's not easy to show you this because obviously that is not really giving you any idea of what it's going to look like. But now that I have finished my Rainer shawl, I feel like I can sit down and I can crack on with this, whereas this has felt a bit guilty. Every time I've sat down and wanted to pick this up, I've kind of felt like, oh, really, I should get that Rainer shawl finished first. So it's had to get put away and I've had to work on that. But now that I've finished that, got ends everywhere, driving me mad. There we go. Now that I've finished that, this can get a bit of love. And as I said, I'm knitting this out of my Storm Cloud colourway. And here it is all caked up, which is a tonal dark grey. I'm alternating skeins. So I have got 2 of these attached to my jumper at the moment. I'm getting a bit tangled up, but that's fine. And then I will be adding in for the stripe, I will be adding in this one. And again, this is Giddy Yarns. This isn't in the shop yet, but I am thinking of adding it to the shop. It's blowing out on the camera there, but it is kind of a very pale minty green. And in fact, I'm thinking, I'm not sure yet, if I put this in the shop it might be called Spearmint. But it goes beautifully. It's very, very much blowing out. I don't know whether you're going to get a true colour of that, but yeah, a minty, spearminty kind of, spearminty, pale spearminty green is what that is. Bluey, spearminty. Yeah, spearmint. Anyway, so that is that. I've got it on short needles at the moment, and I think I am at the stage where I could now put it onto my longer needles, which I think I will do, and hopefully, stupid camera will focus in the right place. I'm here. Thank you. Hello. Hopefully, this will get a bit of love in the next couple of weeks, because I really want it to. I really want to be able to wear it. I don't know if I want to set myself a deadline for when I want it by, but it would be lovely to have it by Christmas, and that's quite a long time away. So hopefully, yeah, we'll see how we go with that. And hopefully next week you'll have a bit more interesting progress on it, rather than just a little bit of round neck that you can't really see properly on the camera. So that is the Breathing Space by Vera Valimaki, and I'm knitting it out of Giddy Yarns. I don't currently have any Storm Cloud in the shop, but I do have a new colourway called Slate, which is going up in the shop, which is quite similar. I will show you that in shop news. Okay, so that is all my knitting progress in terms of new cast-ons. The next thing we've got is some blanket progress. Okay, so as I said, I'd completely forgotten about my blanket progress section because I'd only used it when I was knitting my granny square blanket. And I haven't worked on that in a while because I ran out of the grey that I was joining it in. And then I started my granny stripe blanket and just added it in as a normal work in progress. But I thought I would reintroduce my blanket progress section because now I've got 2 blankets on the needles. I thought every time I've got a significant amount of progress to show you, that might be quite nice. So I will start with my granny stripe because I've done a reasonable amount on this. And seeing as I'm reintroducing blanket progress, I would start by showing you my progress. Anyway, so here it is. It is still growing. The little progress keeper, which I don't know if you can see there, is where I was last time. So I've added another 3 inches to this, and it is still massive, but it's beautiful. And seeing it from a distance on the camera screen there, it looks even better. And yeah, I need to add another light colour soon. I'm not doing a lot of management with this. I'm just adding the yarns in, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't have too much of the same colours next to each other, but that's about it. And I mean, sometimes the yarn makes it all the way across, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, you can see this side, I think, when I look at it, this side looks more pink to me, and then this side looks more green, but only because some of the yarns didn't quite make it all the way across. But yeah, it is gorgeous. And I'm really happy with it. So I'm just continuing to plug away at that. It's lovely when you've had an evening's knitting and you've got to the stage where you just need to put your knitting down for a little bit and you want something a little bit more mindless, then this is really perfect. And it's lovely to sort of see how the yarns knit up differently, and things like that as well. So that is my granny stripe blanket. That bit's quite fun, just seeing how it's all rolled up there. Anyway, and then obviously I've also got my squares, my granny square blanket, which I haven't shown you in a while, and I thought I would show you because I've done a new row. And that was kind of how I was going to show you. Every time I've done a new row, I was going to show you my progress. And as I said, this has had quite a... It's been set aside for quite a while because I ran out of the grey that I'm using to join it. So this is kind of a bit of yarny goodness, but not really. I did buy some more of this, and this is just Cascade Heritage, and it is the grey colourway. So it's a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, but it is a commercial yarn. But I love it. It's a lovely grey, and it's perfect for doing this. So now that I've got more of this, I've been able to do a bit of work on this, and I've been able to join all the squares that I had crocheted up. So last time you saw this, where's the bottom? Okay, last time you saw this, I had these 2 rows. So this is the bottom row here, which you had seen, and the second row, and now I have added a 3rd row onto this. So I've got, these are the 2 greys that I used in my 3-colour cashmere shawl. So these are Stranded Dye Works, Highway Code and Spook, and I just did them, I striped them so that they could go in together. This is the West Yorkshire Spinners in the Sherbet Fizz colourway. This is, I'm a bit closer. This is Rosie's Moments in the Splashes colourway. This is a mini from Peggy May Yarns. This is a mini from Nora George Yarns. This is a mini, one of the Sherlock minis that I got from Ovis, from Ovis Yarns, as is that one. That is one that I dyed up myself, and that actually is a food colouring one that I dyed up, but I used it to knit a pair of the Avenue socks in that one. That's another one of the Ovis Yarns minis. That is the Sparkle Duck that I used for my 3-colour cashmere shawl. And then that's another Ovis Yarns mini. And then finally, that one is a Giddy Yarns one. Well, it's a practice Giddy Yarns one, but the colourway is in the shop. And that is Green Eyed Monster. However, this is on a Drops Fable base, whereas obviously my shop yarns are on merino nylon. But yeah, so that is another whole row that's been added. So we're at 3 rows, and it's 12 squares wide, and I won't be able to show it all on there because it is quite wide. It should fit over our double bed. That is the plan. But I love it. Yeah, I just like the way that you get. I love the granny stripe blanket, and that is fun and bright and colourful. But in my mind, this is the one that shows the yarn off. So you really get a really good view of the yarns that have been used in this. I mean, that's the Sheep on Mars that I used for Jasper's socks. And I love how they crochet up differently to knit up as well. It's really nice to sort of see the difference in them. So yeah, I'm really, really, really happy with this. And I do really like being able to see the yarn in a different way, and also the fact that this will really showcase all those yarns without you getting distracted by the other ones in the row. So that is my granny square blanket. And I've got a few more. I've got plenty of yarn that I need to knit into squares, crochet into squares to add into it. But yeah, so that will see more progress. Okay, so that is all my knitting and crochet content for this week. I have got some more yarny content. I've kind of got some yarny goodness, and I kind of said it wasn't quite yarny goodness, but it was yarny goodness. So I should explain. I have got some yarny goodness, which has kind of come to me, but it has come to me because I messed it up in the shop. So this should have gone into the shop as Rain Cloud, but what did I do? I managed to contaminate the Rain Cloud with some turquoise dye. So once we'd got it out and dried it, we suddenly saw this turquoise dye on it, and I thought to myself, oh, that's really annoying. And I thought, well, I could have put it up in the shop as a second, which I have done once before when Purple Storm got contaminated with a little bit of purple. But then I thought, well, actually, no, I'll keep it and I'll experiment with it. And I thought to myself, I'll add a rainbow, which is what I've done. So I have added a rainbow onto it. So you've got the light grey is Rain Cloud. And there is actually still some turquoise contamination in here. Not that I can remember quite where. Oh yeah, here we go. You probably won't be able to see it on the camera actually because it's not going to show up. But oh, in fact, I can't find it now. Somewhere in here there is still some turquoise dye that I failed to over dye. Yes, there it is. You probably won't be able to see that on the camera. You probably won't. Oh no, you might just be able to see it there. Yeah. So I thought I'd just have a go, and it's not perfect, which is why it's not going in the shop. Plus, it's still got some contaminated bits because I changed my technique halfway through doing the orange and red section. In fact, I'll tell you what I did. Initially, I thought I would put this in water and dye it, speckle it in the water, but the water either wasn't hot enough or I had too much water in there. Anyway, the speckles didn't take how I wanted them to, and the orange just kind of went bleh, and I ended up with this whole section of orange, which is why there's quite a big section of orange compared to the other colours. So once I'd got to sort of that stage and that had happened, I thought, right, this isn't going to work. I'll take it out, and then I just applied the dye powders directly onto the wet wool, and it gives a really vibrant rainbow. So yeah, I mean, this is coming up a little bit. It's getting washed out. Basically, it's getting washed out on the camera, but it's very, very, very bright and very vibrant. So I'm keeping this for me. So it's yarny goodness for me. Arthur is quite taken with it. And so he might have to have something knit in this. So if anybody's got any ideas of what I can knit with 100 grams of fingering weight yarn in rainbow for a 3-year-old boy, not that I'm particularly worried about the gender aspect of it. He can have rainbows. It's not an issue at all with me. Considering his favourite colour is purple, we're not fussed in this household as to gender divisions. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I'd quite like to knit him something in this. I think he would really like it, and he does love this yarn. So yeah, any ideas? Let me know in the comments down below if you can think of a pattern that would work really well with this kind of yarn. Then yeah, let me know. But yeah, that's kind of my yarny goodness for this week. Really, is my little skein of rainbow. And I think I'm going to dye some of this up for the shop. Because it's just fun, isn't it? And I think it'll be quite fun to dye up, and I think it'll be quite popular in the shop. So I'm thinking I'm going to call it After the Rain, because you know, after the rain you get a rainbow, and it's my rain cloud grey. So this will be After the Rain, and I will dye some of this up for the shop at some point, but it won't be immediately. But I will let you know. But yeah, just super fun. Anyway, so talking of the shop, we will move on to shop news. Now, you're going to have to excuse me because I need to get the yarn down, and this is going to be a bit awkward because it's right behind my head, and I should have got it down earlier. But all my shop yarn is living in this box. And it's quite heavy. Right, let's pop me down there. Okay. And also, yeah, this is currently my dyeing storage. So I've got fish kettles that I use for dyeing. I've got slow cooker that I use for dyeing, and then all my kind of dyes are, I can never get the hang of this, are in this box up here as well. So yeah, kind of used a bit of storage, but it's fine. I tend to hit my head on these quite often, but other than that, it's all right. Okay, so I was going to show you a few things that have gone into the shop. I put a few new things into the shop yesterday. So I will show you what I've got. I've restocked a few colourways, and I also dyed up some new ones. So let's start with the new ones. So to start with, we have got Hydrangea, and this is going to blow out. So I apologise if I can't quite show you this in its true colours, I'm afraid. But check out the pictures on Etsy if you're interested, because this is a very, very subtle, pastel pinks, purples and blues. And actually I think that's coming up all right. This is Hydrangea. And this is dyed on my BFL nylon base, so 75% superwash BFL, 25% nylon. And I've got 2 skeins of that in the shop. And then I've also, another new colourway is, it's a new sock set. My sock sets have been quite popular. So this is the new sock set, and this is Riverbank. And I'm really struggling to get the colour of the teal to come across on everything, including the photograph, so we will see. So you get a 50-gram skein of Riverbank, which is this colourway, which is a variegated sort of navy, blue, turquoise and teal, but the teal is really not coming across in the photography very well. So it isn't just pure blue, it has got flashes of teal and green in there as well. And then that comes with a mini skein of this kind of rusty brown colourway, and that is Riverbank, and that is inspired by the colours of the River Thames, which passes through the village or town that we live in. So I've got 2 of those sock sets in the shop. And then I alluded to this earlier, I've also got a new dark grey, and this is Slate. This was supposed to be Storm Cloud, but it came out more variegated. There are larger sections of light grey and larger sections of dark grey, so it will be more variegated than tonal when it knits up. So I thought I would introduce it as a slightly different colourway. So this is Slate. But again, it's a lovely neutral. I really like it. And that is on my 75-25 merino nylon base, a superwash merino nylon. And in fact, I didn't say my sock sets are the same base, so they're 75-25 merino nylon, and you get 50 grams of the main colour and 20 grams of the mini, so it's enough to knit a pair of socks. Sorry, jogging the camera there. And then I restocked a few colourways. So I restocked, badly skeined up I'm afraid, but I restocked Rain Cloud. Only one skein, unfortunately, because I contaminated the other one. But there is a skein of Rain Cloud in the shop. And then I also restocked Rainbow Drops, the sock set Rainbow Drops, because that's been very, very popular. And I had sold out of that. So there's another 2 of those going in that are in the shop. I restocked Spooktacular, which is one of my Halloween colourways, because that had sold out, and there's still plenty of time before Halloween. So that is a speckle dyed black, purple and orange with some underdyed sections, which I love because they just make me think of, it's kind of ghostly underdyed sections in there as well. So they are on purpose, but they kind of give that ghostly effect, which I think is perfect for Halloween. And then I also restocked one that's not been in the shop for a little while, but was a favourite when I first opened the shop, and that is Roadkill Pepper. So this is Roadkill Pepper, and again these, this Spooktacular is on my 75/25 merino nylon, and so is Roadkill Pepper. And Roadkill Pepper is a variegated pink, so it goes from quite a dark pink there to the pale pink that you can also see next to it there, and it has got heavy red and, well, they're meant to be brown speckles, but they look black on here, but they are dark brown speckles, so red and dark brown speckles. And I've talked about this one before, and it's my slightly morbid colourway, inspired by thoughts of Peppa Pig getting run over, because I watched far too many episodes of that when it was Arthur's obsession. Fortunately, at the moment, we're not on Peppa Pig, but I'm sure at some point Jasper will come to love Peppa Pig, but I'm hoping I've got another year or so before that happens. So yeah, inspired by watching one too many episodes of Peppa Pig, Roadkill Pepper. Okay, and that's it. And so there's still a few other things in the shop. In fact, excuse the rustling, I don't know if I've shown you this. Did I show you these last time, or did I just put these in the shop? I'm not sure. If I showed you these last time, this is another sock set. I've got one of these left in the shop. And this is Sunken Treasure, which again was a popular colourway originally. I haven't got any of the full skeins of this, which were dyed on my Stellina base, but it's a lovely sort of aqua blue with blue and turquoise speckles, and also sections of completely multicoloured speckles, which kind of represent pirate's treasure at the bottom of the sea. And then you get a yellow, come back to me, a yellow mini skein with that to keep in with the kind of seasidey, beachy kind of theme, and I think that's super fun. So I'm not sure if I showed you those ones before, but there's still one more of those in the shop. And I think that's everything that's new. I've shown you the Halloween colourways. There's still one Zombie Apocalypse. There's still some Zombie Apocalypse sock sets. And there's still some Wicked Witch in the shop as well. So yeah, check out the shop. And that's everything. So that's everything that's new that's gone into the shop. I still need to sew up some bags. And I have cut out fabric for most of them. I'm just wondering whether I can... No, I can't get to it. I've cut out fabric for some Halloween bags. I just haven't got round to sitting down and sewing them up. And I might do that tomorrow night. Yeah, I might do that tomorrow night. I think tonight I need to just sit and knit, and I'll probably still be editing some of this podcast. So maybe tomorrow I will sit down and sew up some bags, and then I could put them in the shop over the weekend, couldn't I? Anyway, my thought process. Okay, so that is all of my knitting and yarny content. I was just going to finish off with a little behind the scenes section. And this week I thought I would just tell you a little bit about what's been going on with Jasper and me going back to work, if you're interested. But it's, you know, I said before that with my behind the scenes section I sometimes find it difficult just to talk about everything that we've been doing, because we don't do that much, you know, it's the same every week. We've got quite a lot of routine, especially now that Arthur's back at preschool. which is also something I could have talked about. Arthur started preschool, and he looks ridiculously grown up in his uniform. I will insert a picture at the end of him in his uniform. He's only 3. He's not 4 yet. But he does look ridiculously grown up in his uniform. Sorry, my phone is ringing, but I don't know who it is. They can leave a message. Ridiculously grown up in his uniform. But yeah, so I'm going back to work this weekend, and historically I have worked with adults with learning disabilities. I've got an undergraduate degree in psychology, and I've got a master's degree in clinical psychology. But I've been working with adults with learning disabilities for a number of years, and before I had Arthur, I was kind of deputy manager. That wasn't my. It's hard to describe it. It wasn't my job title. My job title was senior support worker, but I was working in a very small residential unit which had a house. It was a house in the community, and it had a manager, and then there was me, and then there were the rest of the staff. So I was acted as deputy manager of the house, and even manager when the manager used to go away for like a month at a time for her annual leave. So I used to help run a residential unit for adults with learning disabilities. Since having Arthur, I started doing agency care work just because it fitted in. For those of you that aren't in the UK, the cost of childcare in the UK is horrendous. I'm sure it is in other places, but certainly in the UK it is absolutely horrendous. So I didn't like the fact that I would be going back to work and I would pretty much be earning what I was spending out in childcare, and it seemed, to me, it seemed pointless. Maybe if I had had more of a career job that earned me more money, then it would have been worthwhile, and I can definitely see why people do it and why people have to do it. But for the way that my job worked and the amount that I earned, it just wasn't worthwhile. So we picked up on the agency stuff because it's so much more flexible. And my other issue is that, as you know, Tom goes away to conferences quite often. And what would happen would be that he would go away to a conference. I would have to take annual leave to cover the fact that I couldn't work while he was away. And then we wouldn't have any annual leave to actually do holidays. Whereas the agency is much more flexible. Basically, I give them my hours and say, this is when I want to work. And they say, okay, these are the shifts available. You can do those shifts. It means I get sent to a lot of different places. I very, very rarely work at the same place every week. I tend to work in a mixture of things. I still get to do a lot with learning disabilities, which is brilliant. I've even been able to do some with children with learning disabilities, which I've loved. But I also get sent to a lot of elderly care homes, a lot of big residential homes, a lot of dementia units, which again, that is fine. I'm perfectly happy to do that kind of thing. And when I went back after Arthur, I did weekends. So I would work a Saturday and a Sunday, and some days I'd do long shifts, some days I'd do short shifts, but I tended to work weekends. And it worked okay, but it did mean that we missed out on family time at the weekends. Tom obviously works 9 to 5, Monday, Friday. So we did miss out in that sense. But I don't know how, but somehow with only one child, it wasn't too bad. We managed and we were quite happy. After having Jasper, the thought of going back to work and doing days at the weekends and never having that family time, I couldn't do it. It didn't feel right. I was dreading the thought of going back to work and having to do that. So I've changed my plans slightly. And I am going back to do a night. I'm going to do 1 night a week, maybe 2 nights a week if we need a bit more money or if we've got something big coming up, but it's fine. But I'm going to do a Saturday night. So the plan is that we will still have Saturday to have as a family day and do things like that. I'll work Saturday night, and then Sunday morning I will come home and I will sleep. And then by Sunday afternoon I'll be awake and we'll be able to again have a little bit more in the way of family time. The other thing that will work quite well is that Tom will have the car. Because we only have 1 car, Tom cycles to work. But when I was working before, because obviously I travel a lot for my work, I work in a lot of different places. I can work up to 20 plus miles away. Very, very varied as to where I end up working each week. I needed the car. which meant that Tom always had to get the bus places with Arthur, which when you've only got one child is fine, and he loved it, Arthur loved it, but the thought of poor Tom having to manage 2 children on the bus on his own was a bit much as well. You know, he'd have been very restricted as to where they could have gone. So it'll work quite well, because it means that on a Sunday, Tom can take the boys out, but he'll have the car, so he'll have a little bit more freedom as to where they go and what they do. So that is my plan. So I have got a shift on Saturday night from 8 p.m. till 8 a.m, 12 hours, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. Our biggest hurdle in this is Jasper. So as you know, or you might know, I think I've mentioned it before, I've been feeding Jasper. I breastfeed him, and I'm still breastfeeding him. He's 10.5 months old now. I fed Arthur as well. I fed Arthur until he was just over a year. So his birthday was the end of November, and I stopped just before Christmas when he was 1. And I'm kind of planning to do similar with Jasper. That's my aim. But Jasper is different to Arthur. Arthur was always very, very willing to take a bottle. We'd never had any issues. We have managed to get Jasper to take a bottle, and he does have the odd bottle of expressed milk or formula. In fact, nowadays he has a little bit more formula rather than expressed milk, because who can be bothered to keep expressing at 8-10 months in? Not me, I have to say. Especially not with a second child running around too. But it took us a while to get him to take a bottle. We eventually found a particular type of bottle that he liked, one of the MAM ones. They've got a different shaped teat, I don't really know. But he's also, I mean, he also has been feeding at night a lot longer than Arthur did. So up until very, very recently, he would have a feed at night, which is fine. You know, I didn't mind it. It's quick and easy. He was in our room, and we just fed him as and when I needed to and put him back down. But obviously, going back to do a night shift, I couldn't do that. And he's 10 months old. He does not need milk at night anymore. He does not need it. There is no reason he's having it. It's habit and it's comfort. So we have started giving him warm water at night, which is what we did for Arthur, to stop him feeding at night, and it worked a dream. It's taken a bit longer with Jasper, but we've got there. And I have to admit, it's quite nice because I don't do it. Tom has to get up and do it because he won't take a bottle from me. If he gets near me, he knows where the milk is. So Tom's been doing it, and it seems to be working. He seems to be taking the warm water and going back to sleep. And actually, the last 2 nights, he slept through. He hasn't woken up for water at all, which is amazing. But yeah, so that's kind of what's been going on. So I'm hoping now that means that actually it should be a lot easier for going back and doing a night. I mean, that was the other part of my hesitation about doing days, is that I tend to feed Jasper. He only has 3 feeds. His morning, evening, and lunchtime he has a feed, which is not a big thing. But it would mean that he would have to have a bottle of formula in the middle of the day if I was at work. Whereas if I'm overnight and he's not feeding at night, then he doesn't need a bottle of milk. So that's fine. Anyway, so that's kind of what's been going on. I don't know whether any of you found that interesting or not, but I just thought I'd share. And the other thing we've actually done in the last week as well is the boys are now both in the same bedroom, which I was dreading, but actually has gone really, really well. They're absolutely fine. And actually, Arthur's waking up less at night now, and Jasper started sleeping through. So fingers crossed that stays, because that's been really nice, because I am sitting where the cot was. So it's nice to have our bedroom back as well after 10 months. Yeah, really, really nice to have our bedroom back. Anyway, that is everything. It was a bit of a random behind the scenes this week, but I felt like sharing, and yeah, I hope you found it interesting. Anyway, I will leave you there. I will be podcasting again in 2 weeks' time. I am planning to record on a Thursday and upload on a Friday. Now that Arthur is back at preschool, that's going to fit in best with our routine and Jasper's nap times. And he hasn't woken up, which is lovely. So that is my plan. I will record on a Thursday and upload on a Friday. That just gives me a little bit more time and a little bit less pressure with editing and uploading times. So yeah, that is everything. And I will see you again. Hopefully I'll leave you with a couple of pictures. I'm not quite sure what I've got in the way of pictures from the last couple of weeks, but we will see. And yeah, I will see you again in 2 weeks' time for another episode. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Bye!